In this presentation, I would like to raise two critical questions that need to be considered while setting up the farmer groups or farmer producing organizations, FPO as they're called. The first question is about who the target for inclusion in the group. What's the membership of the target population for inclusion in the group? And the second question should be about the overarching quality assurance framework that needed to be established for the success of the producing organizations. What constitutes the rural world? In my view, rural world has 5 segments, and understanding these segments is very critical in my view for the formation of FPOs. The first segment consists of large-scale commercial agricultural households and enterprises. Members in this group grow and process crops for sale in the national, regional markets and are both economically and politically quite powerful players. Access to inputs and financial services are easily available to this group. Their farms and companies can be important source of employment, both for agricultural laborers as well as contract farmers. Often, this section is at odds with the formation of FPOs, as they consider the FPOs as somebody who will challenge their fiefdom and influence in that territory. The second segment consists of traditional landholders and enterprises. These farmers and entrepreneurs form a significant share of the rural households in developing countries, and some are part of the local land elite, local powerfuls, politically quite active and possessing relatively large landholdings. They are usually confined themselves to local issues and are not so tightly linked to agribusiness supply chains. Yet, they are good influencers, both bad and good, and can be used in the formation of FPOs. The third segment consists of what I call as subsistence agriculture households and micro enterprises. Rural households in this group form the wide array of smallholder farmers and a diverse group of people who are primarily producing for home consumption but employ a host of different livelihood strategies, including market activities, off-farm labor and migration. They have very limited assets and are frequently employed in off-farm work to make both ends meet. The fourth segment consists of landless rural households and micro enterprises and nano enterprises. This group does not own agricultural land and is largely dependent on sharecropping, hiring out labor to other farms, or working off-farm in urban centers or in the metros working on infrastructure activities like construction, etc. The fifth and the last segment consists of chronically poor households, poor rural households. People in this segment are often not economically active and have little or no asset. Poverty due to old age, health issues, floods, droughts are mainly responsible for this kind of acute poverty. Not to mention about lack of education or literacy. While the first two segments have enough wherewithal to manage risks, and by risk I refer to social risks like health, expenses on account of rituals, ceremonies, funerals, etc., the third, fourth, and the fifth group that I talked about are often vulnerable to these shocks. In forming FPOs, producing organizations, it's my view that we must focus on the last three groups and identify sparks of entrepreneurship. How can we do this? We can do this not by our hunches or by what the village elder tells us as to who should form the membership, but by scientific psychometric profiling about entrepreneurship. Having a homogeneous group composition is very important for the long-term viability of the group. The second important issue I would like to flag is about having a quality assurance framework to judge the performance of the group. To me, quality assurance framework, and I can't think of a better metaphor or analogy, QAF, quality assurance framework, is like an octopus with several tentacles that firmly holds all the variables affecting the FPOs. Usually, assessment of FPOs gets faltered as its efficacy is judged on inadequate matrices, such as only focusing on the profits made or on the inputs, processes, and outputs. I agree that all these elements do play a role in determining the efficacy, but often the outcome of the FPO or of the emergence of the FPO outcome is given a go-by. Let me elaborate on this. While producing enough grains and making profit is an output, in my view, the outcome of a well-oiled FPO should be happy and productive members working in harmony with great interdependence and with an atmosphere of openness, mutuality, and trust. The long-term success of the group gets determined when every member of the group learns to ask a question. And what's that question? What can I do to help you so that you can help me better? That's the principle of interdependence. It's a matter of great distress that politicians have spoiled the mindset of farmers by offering all kinds of freebies and subsidies. While concessions are welcome, but the resultant dependency mindset is detrimental to the FPOs. Members must develop pride in their output and develop a growth mindset that can be facilitated by a robust business plan with right matrices. It is a widely held misconception that women do not have entrepreneurial abilities and therefore an FPO of all women members has little chance to succeed. Our experience of working with women members from Africa and Bangladesh has shown that women not only possess high entrepreneurial skills, but they also have better creditworthiness, better conscientiousness, and openness to learn new concepts and practices. And this is despite the routine domestic duties and childbirth and child rearing chores. In addition, they are more innovative than their counterparts. So let me conclude by mentioning that all these essential attributes needed to select the right kind of farmer producing organization member can be measured by a proper scientific profiling. And that is what the instrument that we have developed, which we call as Empower You, helps us to identify. Thank you very much.